Okay, welcome to Northeastern University in Vancouver. And a particularly warm welcome to alum that we heard about and we know about and you appear on lists, but we see you for the first time in person, which is absolutely wonderful. So we'll have plenty of time to catch up later. But I'm delighted to also welcome Dean Beth Mynatt from Khoury College of Computer Sciences, because we're going to celebrate a 40th birthday party today in Vancouver. A warm welcome to Beth.
I'm 40 years old now. So.
Beth, okay.
No.
There's some things I'm not going to repeat. Did anybody hear that? No. What I'd like to do most of all, as we look out at this fantastic view, is to recognize that the territory on which our campus is based is the traditional territory of the Coast Salish peoples, and that includes the Musqueam, the Tsleil-Waututh, and the Squamish nations. Thank you for coming. A little bit about the campus. We've been in here since February of this year. We started in February 2020, but that's part of the origin story that you're going to hear about a little bit later. And we'll be taking 2 more floors in May of 2023. And we've just put in an ask to get 2 more floors. So the good news is that the fundamentals for the campus are really good, that the student demand is high, but most of all, the reputation of the university is second to none. And that's largely based on the fact that alum, when they turn up in the world of work, they tend to work, which is really good for our reputation. But we'll get back to you a little bit later. Apparently, you and I are going to have a fireside chat.
Where's the fire?
Anybody got some matches? That might prevent us getting extra floors if we do something like that.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you want to jump into this? All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for hosting myself, my team, for our 40th anniversary of the Khoury College. And we have a series of events over the next 2 days. So love that we've come and taken over some of this campus for a little while. And Steve, I wanted to start with a question, which is a bit self-serving, but it really helps us to understand the Vancouver campus. But can you help us understand the role that Khoury College has had in establishing such a vibrant and a successful campus here in Vancouver?
Yes, so by the way, I am Steve Eccles, the CEO and Dean of the campus, by the way. I get the eye from Denise if she thinks I've forgotten something. She's got these semaphore signals.
Okay.
But the origin story here is that when we started, and I was employee number 1 in August 2018. And so Northeastern is brilliant because what it says is you're not going to be a franchise. You're going to take what Northeastern can give you and you're going to build out in consideration of your campus community. And that is a gift, right? So you get to start something again. But when we considered the entry to Vancouver, we thought about scale. How are we going to be able to grow our presence as Northeastern in Vancouver quickly? We thought about fit. How best can we serve community by focusing on a discipline, an area which British Columbians and Canadians needed and which our market needed. And we thought about impact. We thought about if we could move the needle not just on technical expertise, but actually really make our mark in socially and economically shifting the broad success of our province. We're extremely lucky to live here, right? Most of us are very proud of Vancouver. Many of us are immigrants here. And so this was this opportunity to make us better. And the ministry turned around to us and gave us that instruction, make us better. So they didn't want MBAs because we got lots of those here. But we did have a massive gap. And so the origin story for Khoury was in this core of computer science, because that's where the talent gap was. And that was easy. And then it was about the relationship with Khoury and the fact that you could start to kind of collaborate towards how best to make that happen. And working with colleges is always entertaining. And but it is about relationships, and the relationships from the get-go was super strong. I think the second thing was, typically when you're employee number one, I actually had, do you remember that movie with the Castaway movie? Who was in that? Tom Hanks. And he ended up with Wilson, the ball, talking to it. Well, I actually had a Wilson ball because I was on my own for 6 months. And Wilson, I should have got him out because he's in that cupboard over there. But number two is very much part of the Khoury origin story, because typically when Northeastern launched a new campus, employee number two might be an operations director or it might be an assistant. Khoury supported me in hiring a computer science director, Dr. Beth Mynatt. And that was highly intentional. Can you wave your arms in the air? So Bethany, you're the second person from Jersey in the room. You have a friend. And Bethany brought not just a strong reputation in expertise in the field, but also industry connections and impact, because Bethany had a vision for computer science for positive impact, in addition to scale and getting people into the world of work. And so this was a brilliant fit. And credit to Khoury, the chemistry was super good, and they've helped us scale to the point that how many new students this year? We will welcome about an additional 170 Khoury students. 170 graduate students in computer science just in this academic year, brand new. So that's the relationship and the reason why we're here.
Thank you.
And now the tables are turned.
Oh, okay.
So, Beth, you have mentioned the college's mission of making computer science accessible for all, but what does that mean to you?
So I love this question. So for those of you who are less familiar with Khoury College, our mission is computer science for everyone. And when you think of universities and you think of academic colleges, you think of deans, you don't think of mission-centric organizations, right? You tend to think of the institutions of education and granting degrees and all the things that we do. But all of Khoury is embraced and embraces this mission. And so what does that mean for education? So for computer science to be for everyone, it has to be accessible, right? It has to be available to a wider population than it has traditionally been. So what you see, for example, in our degree programs are pathways such as the powerful Align program. I think I have some graduates here in the room. Thank you. So our Align program, which provides a bridge, it provides an on-ramp for undergraduates in majors in anything but computer science to come in and then pivot and take their career, take their educational pathway into that high-tech space. There are a number of bridge programs out there in the countries, North America, but none as successful as Align, especially in providing the on-ramp across that hundreds of different undergraduate degrees out there. So it's one thing to say, okay, you're in engineering and we're going to move you into computer science. It's another thing that we have doctors and lawyers and art history and historians, folks coming from all sorts of professions. And the beautiful proof point of that is not only do those students come in and successfully graduate, but then their employers come back to us and say, that diversity is amazing. The diversity in terms of gender, but the diversity in terms of expertise, in terms of passion, in terms of the whole package, just makes such a difference in the world. So it's accessible by who can come in, but then the impact, as you said, Steve, that we can have on the world is tremendous because of that approach. But we're pushing forward past that. So our programs are accessible, but we also want them to be relevant. And what I mean by that is for individuals to be able to see how their interests can connect with creating new solutions, new approaches, new work out in the world to be able to have that impact in the world. For our undergraduates, we do this with our combined majors. We have over 40, getting close to 50 now, combined majors, so that individuals can come in and say, I want computer science plus business, plus economics, plus political science, plus design, plus gaming. I know I've got some gaming folks in the room. so that they can see how computer science can make a difference in the world, how it can be relevant to the areas that they care about. Why does this also matter? It matters because when you see headlines about, oh no, companies are laying off, and it is an issue for some of our students, right? We've had some job offers rescinded, but the majority of our student body is just fine because they're working in all the industries that are looking for computer science talent. And because of the way we've designed these programs, because we've made opportunities to have relevance in the world, they have so many opportunities available to them. We also do that through the capstone projects. That's a hallmark of the Vancouver campus, to be able to have that capstone work where you can show not only what you've learned in terms of technical skills, but then how you package that going forward to have an impact. And then the last part that I want to speak to is, accessible and relevance. And then I want to speak to this notion of leadership. And that's part of where our future goals, and I'll get to talk about this a little bit later, is shifting. That not only are our students kind of learning the technical skills, and they're quite renowned, but then they're also starting to chart the path of what are the choices, what are the trade-offs, what are the ethical responsibilities about computing, and that they're bringing that leadership to all of those industry sectors. And so when we talk about computer science for everyone, it's about creating those educational opportunities for our students so that they can have such a tremendous impact in the world. You buy that?
Hook, line, and sinker.
Hook, line, and sinker, exactly, because it works. So one of the ways that we love working with the Vancouver campus is, you've heard me wax on about computer science for everyone, is the work here that focuses on First Nation, Indigenous populations. It focuses on underserved communities that have traditionally been left out of that Silicon Valley computer science innovation cycle. Can you speak to the engagement here and the types of impact and leadership coming out of the Vancouver campus?
Yeah, for sure. And I'm going to definitely prove that it was hook, line, and sinker, because I do want to go back to the importance of programs like Align, which is a really great example of approaching and serving a market that has been underserved. So whether it's women in the workforce, or women returning to work in the workforce, or whether it's just recognizing also the benefits of a program like that, where you get such a diversified mix of input and intelligence and backgrounds in a class and learning space. We have seen that pay off in spades in the Align cohorts. And there are versions of Align, and there are subsets and stackables attached to a program like Align, which we have provided through workshops, and we've looked at these underserved communities to better serve them through entries to new employment tracks. And when I think about our community here in British Columbia, it's brilliant to live in a place like downtown Vancouver, which ostensibly is thriving, even though it's expensive to live. But out in rural BC, the challenges are quite different, and we got to find ways to get people who don't have these job opportunities in emerging technologies and in the digital economy. We've got to give them pathways. So we're actively working on ways to do that with the help of Khoury. I would say, in addition to the program side, to improve access, Beth, to give people more of a sense of place in the program. The campus design plays a part in that. This is a very different layout to what a typical university would be. So we don't have bespoke and siloed wings, right? We have an environment which more or less we think mirrors the world of work. And the idea of that is that there is a free flow of students, faculty, staff. And for example, I'm not the only one, but every day we find ourselves talking to students in the kitchen. I had a conversation just the other day with somebody, and she had just completed her project presentation, and the relief that she had. And I said, how did it go? And she started to talk briefly about her English, and she said, I hope my English was okay, because I've really been practicing. And I said, well, I just got to tell you, your English is absolutely fine. And she said, I've got so much confidence just in the informal communication here. Well, the informal communication is enabled by the way people can move around. So there is that. My team gave me notes, by the way, because they say that I often don't have notes, and they say, can you make sure you save this stuff? But I also want to point out that culture here. When you take the essence of a university like Northeastern, and again, you get to start again, that means that you can really pay attention to the people who come on board. And I think leaders can be a little arrogant when they say, well, somebody needs to be a cultural fit. And it was actually a Khoury student who said, you know what, Steve, that's wrong. Employees are a cultural add. Because culture is about the additions that you bring to a team and not trying to fit additions to the team to a bespoke culture. And that is a remarkable insight, I think, and it gave us a little bit of a path to the type of open culture where there's leadership at all levels. Everybody here is accountable, and they serve our students, and they serve our industry partners, and they're wholly dedicated to it. And everybody comes equipped with a massive, big and juicy brain, and we want to make sure that they're employed and put to good use. So when we think about serving the underserved, to open ideas to how we serve to more brains would be brilliant. There are things we can do better. And one thing that we're focused on, we really learn from the benefits that come with an Indigenous member of the team present. We had that with Michael Runningwolf. Bethany hired Michael into the faculty, and we have got the budget this year to hire a community partner who's going to be wholly focused on Indigenous engagement. It is a term of our consent with the ministry as a university in BC to move the needle on truth and reconciliation with Indigenous peoples. The only way we can do that is with the help of Indigenous people, very much part of our culture. So, we've made moves, but we've got a long way to go, and I think the pace will accelerate, I hope.
Yeah, but that commitment is so incredibly important, and if I can continue the conversation, working off of our notes, one of the areas that we're continuing this commitment is, Steve and I have talked about the importance of inclusion and the importance of computer science for everyone from an educational mission, from the engagement within the community. And one of the areas that's a priority for me is I guess I can still say new, I'm still in my first year, new dean, but a priority for our college as a whole is embracing computer science for everyone as part of our research mission. And what I mean by that is if you look at the tradition of computer science research, and I'm old enough to have been part of some of that, computer science had this, I think in some sense we had a little bit of a chip on our shoulder because we were, in comparison engineering and mathematics, right? We had to prove that we could build things. And so much of the initial computer science research was literally like, oh, you think we can't build this? Okay, watch this, right? And so it was just that sheer act of creation that fueled the industry and it fueled the community. And that was terrific because we built amazing things. And if you look at the Andrew project or what was happening at Stanford, I was at Xerox PARC, that sheer act of creation was so energizing. But what that meant was as we were creating for ourselves, right? And so that became a culture of creating and focusing computer science innovation on a more rarefied set of values and perspectives. And what Khoury College is doing and what we will continue to lead in doing is by shifting that perspective from computer science as an act of creation for myself, but computer science as a commitment that computer science innovation benefits everyone, right? So not just everyone has access to education, but everyone benefits from the work that we do. When we make that commitment, we then conduct research in some fundamentally different ways. And this is it. I'm not making this up as if no one has ever done this. If you look at medical research that is focused on the conditions that that society has dealt with over generations, even if you look within computer science research on a focus on accessibility, right? How do we meet the needs of individuals with perceptual or cognitive impairments and the things that we can do? We do have that in our traditions, but most of our research has focused on kind of brighter, faster, shinier excitement, right? And if we then say we're going to have a commitment to equity in terms of computer science innovation, well, then how do we do that? Well, we need to do that through partnerships. We can't do this by ourselves, right? So we have to reach out and we have to create those partnerships. We have to have a commitment to teaching our students what does it mean to work with vulnerable populations? What does it mean to work with underserved populations? You just can't waltz in and say, hey, I'd like a lot of data about how difficult, X is, and then walk away with that data and then do something cool, right? You have to have a long-term commitment to co-creation together, respecting the values of your partners. And then finally, in and throughout that, we have to shift from and I think we get this from our engineering side of our roots, we have to shift from problematizing everything, right? And so this is this notion that if you come in and say, there's a deficit in your world, but hey, we're computer scientists and we can come fix that for you, right? So that's highly patronizing, right? And it really just looks at, okay, there's something wrong with you and we can make things better, right? As opposed to, these are the rich traditions of your community. This is how this is how your community engages in terms of education. This is the traditions of work. This is the traditions of labor. These are the traditions that come out of being neurodiverse. These are the traditions that come out of the deaf community. These are the traditions that come out of being trans, but being out in the world and advocating for people's rights. And why I'm using these examples is not just kind of pandering to a list, because we have active research projects now that through co-creation and through partnerships are saying, we have new privacy models for online security, we have new manufacturing models for creating prosthetics, we have new educational models that recognize working with First Nations, we have new labor models that recognize how you would argue for fair rights in a gig economy, in a gig workforce. Your innovation model changes, and then what you produce changes. And so not only you're creating insights that no one has ever seen before, so that's fantastic, but now you're creating benefits for everyone as opposed to benefits for a rarefied few. So I'm very excited about this. There are a number of researchers in this room that I could start pointing out. How we focus on agriculture, how we focus on Mahel's research in terms of the use of robotics and drones to look at communities underserved as opposed to agribusiness. Once you change that framework, the opportunities are boundless, but it means you have to make that commitment. You can't just decide to do it and then use your traditional techniques and expect the right thing to happen. You have to invest in the partnerships, you have to invest in the methods, you have to invest in the infrastructure that's different than traditional computing infrastructure to have that kind of impact. And that's one of the reasons I'm so excited about our continued partnership, is because I think we have that joint commitment.
For sure, and I know sort of predicting where you're going in terms of partnerships, I think we've always been interested in, Beth, what are our partners telling us on the industry side? So we're just flipping to, well, what is industry's priorities right now when it comes to the role that Northeastern can play in Vancouver? And so we hear a couple of things. They obviously want, these are graduate students, so they want advanced technical skills. And the program, of course, delivers on that. I would say it's not just the program content, but it's also the way that Bethany and the team have created the delivery of curriculum that engages capstones, industry projects, live, in the flow of work projects that advance a student's professional capacity to go out and apply it, right? They're applying it super well when they go out on their co-ops and in placement because they've already done it through the integration of industry. And I would say that the extent to which we've got faculty also engaged in industry, and welcome back Mariana, because Mariana, right in front of us here, is, I think the last time I saw you was over Christmas dinner 2 years ago when you went off to industry and ended up working in augmented reality with Next Tech AR. But Mariana is one example of our brilliant faculty that has been steeped in the world of work and can then apply it. So industry partners want that. They want industry inside the curriculum and delivering it, and they're impressed by the heft of a research university and a Master of Science in Computer Science. The second thing they want, though, is they want that kind of, give us examples, they would say in an interview, where they say, give us an example of how you've dealt with turbulence. So, how have you navigated the last 2 years? Because this is back to the benefits of rethinking the delivery of education, the benefit of a different campus design, because I think in our computer science program, we have a sort of restless attitude, right? This is not linear and predictable. There's loads of those outside of people want a predictable computer science degree, and they're very good, but we don't do predictability. We do, there's a little bit of unsettling. I know that Khoury, for example, in its undergrad has an improv class. And I read in an article the students hate it at the start and love it at the end. Why? Because it's highly relevant to industry needs. Because industry is unpredictable. And that's the way they are. I think it's brilliant the way that Khoury encourages us, and in its program design really embraces this attribute that industry wants. So I feel, I think that the key piece there is industry is always interested in a story. If a student can show up and say, let me tell you about a collaborative project where I needed to design something in 48 hours, which ended up in an application for the United Way towards food security, industry gets engaged in that story because it's technical design at speed, collaboration, and impact. And our students are really good at that.
No, I agree with you, and I want to share another story. And I promise the team we are sticking to the questions. But I want to share a story because it's about that commitment that we're making and how we're shaping that culturally. So some folks in the room have heard about this, but we have introduced within Khoury College a professional oath. And we have focused this for our undergraduate population such that when they graduate, that they will stand up and take an oath about their responsibilities about being a computer scientist in the world. And so I first pondered this a few years ago when I gave a commencement speech, and then I brought this into the commencement speech for our undergraduates last spring. And I kind of proposed it, not sure, I kind of didn't want to spring them on them. It's like, oh, you've got this new dean, you've been here for years, but oh, by the way, here's an oath. So I just read it to them for them to ponder, and I was just surprised by the positive reaction by the students and by their parents. And so it's framed, the Hippocratic Oath, of course, is very well known from the medical world. Some of you may know the Engineer's Oath, which also focuses on responsibility to the things that you create. And so when we framed it for computer scientists, the question was, what is your responsibility to the world as being a member of this profession? And the main point for this is that it's not a matter of just saying, I promise to act ethically, although that should be part of it, but it's the tools and techniques that you learn along the way that allows you to embody that oath. So now when we look at our curriculum, we're saying, okay, well, you're learning machine learning. Okay, well, what are the ethical trade-offs and challenges? And what are the tools and techniques that will help you investigate a data set to understand biases that could be in the data set? When you're looking at sensor technologies, right, what are the different reliability trade-offs that you have to make? What are the different privacy trade-offs that you would have to make in the use of that data? And so we're now infusing this through our curriculum. And so when the students, so I'm getting to my story, when the students came for convocation, so the new students arrived in the fall, I gave, again, welcome, thrilled to see all of you. And I said, you're going to have an amazing time and adventure through this discovery process, this resilience, Steve, that you're speaking to. And I said, by the time you graduate, I want you to be able to take this oath. And I gave them some examples of the kind of things I've been waxing on about the kinds of impact they could have in the world. So my story. Last night, I was at a reception in Seattle, and we had pulled together some invited parents of anyone who had Khoury undergraduates to come by and chat with us. And so I'm talking to this father, and he said, my son, it was clear he wanted to go to Northeastern because he wanted to combine business and computer science, And Khoury's really the only game in town with combined majors. I agreed with him. Yes, that is true. It's great that your son is here. All of this is neat. And he said, but he was a little confused because he said his son went to college saying, I'm going to be in fintech, business and technology, and I'm going to make loads of money. And he said his son came back, just sometime to visit during the fall, and he says, I want to do things in computer science to make the world a better place. And his father's like, where did he get that idea? And I'm just chuckling. I'm like, well, there's this talk I gave to the students about a month ago. But in that short period of time, because of the engagement in our community and because we're putting that out there front and center, we've got a first-year student who is already deeply thinking about what he can do in the world because he's a computer scientist. And that's the commitment that I think can have such long-term downstream impact if we can foster that type of perspective and that type of professional commitment.
Whoa.
And I promised his dad he'd still make money. It was okay.
Okay, wonderful. Beth, I think we wanted to summarize by talking about two big ambitions, right? Should I go first and just highlight a couple for the campus?
That'd be great.
So I think the first thing we wanted to talk about was when we think about our students, and we've got quite a few fairly recent alum here. It's so great to see you again. But we also we see our students probably going out into the big enterprise companies like Amazon, SAP, Microsoft, which is great. Quite a few of our students are talking about, well, how could I work maybe for an entrepreneur? Maybe how could I be an entrepreneur? And so one of our ambitions, and actually moving along, and we will launch it towards the end of May or June next year, we'll have entrepreneurial companies live on campus. A small number to try it, but we want our students to have access to this sort of creative hub and kind of get an experience of mentorship and also influence from people who are creating ideas. And we got a feeling when you think about our community that 85% of it is small to mid-size startup. There is a massive market and a limited market for creativity, and our students are interested. So that's one ambition. The second one is, Beth, all to do with you. And I think it's just going to be a matter of when, not if, that Northeastern Vancouver will be the largest campus for Khoury Computer Science program. Now, I have not agreed this way. I'm thinking it, okay, so there's not going to be an argument, I hope. But we believe that the demand for this program, both in terms of domestic students, but also international students and Canada's approach, we need new Canadians, right? So Canada announced 1.25 million immigrants by 2025, which is extraordinary. And they'll come gifted with technical skills. And we want to be able to leverage that energy, and we couldn't be better equipped with the spine of a campus like the Khoury Computer Science program. So, yeah, and we're not going to put Seattle out of business.
Oh, Seattle's
we're not going to put Boston out of
fine.
business. They'll be fine, but let's put it this way: they need a bit of competition.
All right, so I will match that growth through one of my ambitions, which is, I come back 4 or 5, I don't know how many years, within one hand, counting, not fingers and toes. And that when I come to this campus, I'm seeing PhD students, I'm seeing postdocs, I'm seeing a vibrant research program that reinforces and connects to the programs that we have now, but then also allows, so many of my amazing PhD graduates that are in my academic family started working with me as master's students, right? So they started working with me, but because they were in a master's program that looked for opportunities for discovery, for creation, for getting a sense as to what research was about, about halfway through, they're like, oh, that's really interesting. Like, could I do that? I'm like, okay, well, this is how you apply, and this is how you would then become a PhD student and then go out there in the world. And then those students are now professors and industry researchers and entrepreneurs. So when we grow, the Vancouver campus, part of it is, not only just scaling in terms of, the successful programs that we have now, but we're adding other facets to it, right? So what does it mean to be able to grow out that research ecosystem? And we know there's some crazy hurdles to get there, but they're doable. And it's a commitment to continue to grow out research across our campuses, that's not just like a Boston thing, but that's very much a Khoury thing. And if we look at that mission of computer science for everyone, the kind of research innovation that could be done here is tremendous. And then of course, well, who have I left out? So I've got the researchers, I've got the PhD students, we've got the master's students. What does it mean for our undergraduate population to be able to connect to and engage? So that's going to be partnerships with the universities in the area. So some students, doing a local undergraduate, but they're going to come and do a +1, or they're going to come into our master's programs. But it also means that those students that are looking for co-ops that are sitting in Boston right now, all right, well, what does it mean for them to come out here and be part of that ecosystem as well? So the one place that I was disappointed when I was reviewing the materials when I started as dean is I was looking at all the places our students were getting jobs. And our master's students, you're knocking it out of the park, right? Like all of the best firms, all of the best opportunities, amazing relationships. Our undergraduates are doing great in terms of employment, right? They're getting jobs, but it's a little too New Englandish, right? I think there's that confidence building that our students are doing here that we need to grow in that undergraduate population. And that confidence to say, I am a citizen of the world, and boy, I can go make a big difference, in Vancouver. So we're starting to set up programs. Seattle is first. We're starting to set up programs where we have, a short summer semester, and the students, so suddenly a bunch of 50 undergraduates are now running around this campus. But then when they do that, then when they look at an opportunity and they're like, oh, Vancouver, I can do Vancouver. I've been there before, right? That confidence and willing to go further out of their comfort zone is there. So we're doing this with Seattle. Would love to talk to you about what it means to bring undergraduates out here. So when we think about that growth for the Vancouver campus community, I want it to be that full-fledged Khoury experience.
Okay.
Undergrads eat a lot of pizza.
I've got 2 undergrads. I don't know whether I want 200 more, to be honest. So Beth, thank you for that. Everyone, thank you. Can we take this opportunity to wish Dean Beth Mynatt and the Khoury team all the very best on their 40th birthday. Thank you. And,
we're not going to sing.
No, we're not. We actually uploaded a video that the Vancouver team sang today. If anybody sees it on the internet, can you take it down for me, please?
Oh, I want to see this.
Stop the spread is the hashtag. Welcome again. If you don't mind, I've got an idea, and it involves you, Dom, and a microphone. Dom, may I ask, and if it's all right with everybody, what we would love to do is just very quickly go around the room and welcome our alum. If you could give us that very quick note of introduction, we would love to know who's in the room. Would that be okay? You don't have a choice.
So if you're an alum, raise your hand.
I'll start over here. I'm so sure. I wrote this one back. So just tell us maybe a quick story of how you got to study at Northeastern and how you got back to Vancouver, or whatever your story is in 2 to 3 minutes.
Or 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Sure, I'll go first. Hi, my name is Pam Drucker. I'm originally from Boston. I was born in Boston. Can everybody hear me? I was born in Boston, and after I had sort of a clear and doing clerical things, I decided, Northeastern has a co-op program. Northeastern has a co-op program, and this interests me because I can still not incur a lot of student debt and go to school at the same time. So it took me 11 years, long finish line, but I finished. And I've had opportunities ever since, before I graduated from Northeastern. And I was able to move here sort of mid-career when people stay in their jobs and continue my career as a technical writer and a graduate of Northeastern in Boston. So that's
I feel like I should stand up as well. Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Felicia Bokikio, born and raised in New Jersey.
Yay!
Yes. Graduated from Northeastern in 1990. I'm currently the CEO of a tech company right across the street, who we are doing a lot of work in artificial intelligence and machine learning and generative AI, so super exciting things that are happening. And I credit Northeastern and my experience there for a lot of my journey in my career, and for grit, and for getting out there and trying different roles. I mean, I think that's what the cooperative education program really teaches you. It's okay to walk into new companies, learn from new people, and a lot of those skills have just carried on for me in my journey in my career. So incredibly excited to work across the street and have looked over and seen the Northeastern signage and flag flying. So welcome to Vancouver.
Steve, I think they still have some floors available too.
Hello everyone, my name is Roshan. I graduated from the Boston campus in 2017. I'm currently a security engineer in Amazon, and when I got the invite for this one, I thought I would come and see some of you. So,
Perfect.
Hi everyone, my name is Ria Agrawal. I graduated from the Vancouver campus a few months ago. I'm now working as a software engineer in the industry at Activation.
Ria, can you make a little announcement on what you're about to do, please?
Yes.
You don't get away with it.
So we are trying to get together a community for alumni who are centered in Vancouver. And you probably would be getting details soon if you sign up using the QR code that is at the front. So please do, and we'll reach out to you soon.
Thank you, Ria.
Hi everyone, I'm Ray. I graduated this August, and I'm now currently as the SDE in Amazon Identity Store Group. And I really enjoy being home, and I just heard our dean and our CEOs talking about new immigrants. I think I'm a sort of a typical example of the new immigrants here. I really appreciate the opportunities Northeastern providing me. When I was arrived here in 2021 March, it's in the middle of a semester. I need to find an internship. I have to settle down here from my home country. And I really appreciate Mariana, who works in Next Tech before, and she guided me during that internship. She accepted me, even though I have no experience. Thank you. And really nice to see you here. I don't know that. And then, keep learning, accumulating experience, and now successfully graduated and get a job in Amazon and start my new journey. So really appreciate the opportunities I have here, and I'm really glad to be back, and hopefully I can maybe provide some resources in the future for our current students if they need help. So yeah, really appreciate it, and really glad to be home. Thank you.
Hi, my name is June. That I graduated Northeastern from CPS program, which is new. I think that's for our program here. And then I graduated 2011 from Boston. So I studied with higher education administration. I stayed on as working in higher ed, and now I'm working at Simon Fraser. So all the way working with students, I'm very excited with working students, and then excited to find out that we have a campus here last year since we moved here. I heard about that when I left Northeastern and Boston, that we are going to have a campus here in Vancouver. At that time, I was, oh, can I learn anything? Because at that time, we were about to move to Canada here. And then that dream came true last year. Then I met these gentlemen, and then we connected. And then today I'm here. I'm so proud of myself. It's finding a home away from home. And I'm glad to meet our alumni here. Thank you.
Hello everyone. So my name is Rohan. I'm born and raised in Nepal. I recently graduated from Northeastern's Vancouver campus in 2022. And started in 2020 when everyone remembers there was COVID, everyone was locked down. And Northeastern Vancouver supported me and everyone else in my batch to continue our education. So I completed 2 of my semesters online through my home country, and then came here, then graduated, and yeah, and now I work in AWS, and everything I'm here today is because of Northeastern and the support it provided. So yeah, that's it.
And your office is right there, right?
Yeah, it's just like same floor.
Yeah, we'll be surrounded by alumni.
You can set up a little bat signal.
Hi
Alumni
everyone,
come.
I'm Marwan Bakri. I'm a graduate of Class Y2K. For the millennials in the room, it's the year 2000. I went to the School of Design or Architecture. I came to Vancouver 13 years ago. I always say I never looked for a job after my first co-op. Work looked for me, and that's how I ended up in Vancouver. I lead tech strategy for a construction company here, a very large one. And I'm excited to hear a potential of more co-ops. We've been using a lot of the University of Waterloo here locally, and just like you, I stumbled on the sign, and I was very thrilled to see Northeastern in Vancouver. Thank you.
Is that it?
The rest are
No more? No more hands? All right. So for all of our alum, if you find yourself sitting at a window and you're around here, take your Post-it notes and put NU in Post-it notes, okay? And your name. My kid does that at McGill in his res, except it says send food. What a wonderful event. Thank you. We're just getting started. Our idea of engaging with our community is really about relationships. But what we're most of all proud about is seeing people succeed in the world of work, and not just succeeding, but making that impact, to Beth's point. And Beth, could I ask that you say a few just final words?
Steve has all the microphones. Thank you for coming out tonight. Thank you for hosting me, for hosting our team, for letting us bring our 40th celebration to the Vancouver campus. It has been a delight in planning these celebrations, because in each campus, the goal is not that we take a cookie cutter, party and bring it around the world, but it's that we partner, as we do in everything, to say, okay, what is the best way for us to celebrate our 40th? So we're having this conversation tonight. We have a student showcase tomorrow afternoon, get to see all of the brilliant work that our students are doing. And so to that, I want to recognize Bethany again. Thank you very much for leading Khoury here in Vancouver. And then I'm just thrilled to be able to interact with so many of our brilliant faculty. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I should quit talking because there's food and beverages that we can take and interact with each other.
Thank you again, Beth.